When an individual is prevented from getting entry into his own country through the lapses of others, then there is a problem. A few months ago, when trying to get back into this country, I reached, and through France, incidentally, I reached Charles de Gaulle Airport, had my boarding pass, and I was about to board the plane. At the very entrance to the plane, I was told I couldn't get on. I had my vaccination. I'd taken the 72-hour COVID test, and I was negative. But apparently there was one more. There was a new one called PCR. Is that correct? I don't even know these initials. Anyway, which the Nigerian government had begun to insist upon. Now, I was away from the country at the time. I didn't know this. I thought I was all geared up. I couldn't get on that plane. I had to go back into Paris. And the test, by then the offices had closed or whatever. Anyway, I spent 3 extra days in Paris before I could get back on, after taking the test and getting my result. 3 days. I did not complain. I didn't invite you to chat with you. I felt it's okay. It's my fault. I should have known. Maybe not, but I felt I should have known. But it's happened a second time, just about a week ago. This time I had my PCR, or whatever it's called, and of course I still remained vaccinated. And exactly the same thing happened to me. And of course, it did not happen to me alone. There were other Nigerians who passed the night at the airport. They couldn't leave the airport because they'd already passed immigration. But at the gate, they were also turned back. This time, it was not PCR or whatever it's called. It was that they had not gone to something called the Nigerian Travel Portal and obtained permit to travel. Well, again, it was my turn. And I said, I've got everything. I've got PCR, etc. They said, no, there was one more item which the Nigerian government now required. Of course, others were again similarly affected. So I had to go back into Paris. And then I was directed where to go through this machine here and pay the necessary amount, and then permission will be generated from Nigeria so that I could travel back to my own country. All right. I rebooked. Following morning, I was back at Air France. At the hotel, we tried to get onto this portal. We could not. Following morning, 8 a.m., I started again with the hotel staff. Finally, at 10 o'clock, realizing that I might miss my flight again, I carried my bag from the airport hotel, went to Air France. I said, listen, I've got my ticket. I was given a new boarding pass yesterday. Since yesterday and this morning, I've been trying to get on this portal. I want to get on this flight. Together with Air France staff, between 10 a.m. and 2 something, we kept working. They brought their computers. Some changed my password here for me so that they could then try through their own whatever it was. Between 10 and 2 something, we did not. At one time, there were 6 members of Air France staff working on their own computers, working on this very computer, and trying, and my phone, of course, trying to get this permit to return to Nigeria. We succeeded maybe around 12 or something in the receipt of the payment from my credit card being acknowledged. In other words, we got that far. But it did not generate this permit to enter Nigeria, which has a barcode, a square barcode. If I find it, I'll show it to you. Now, the process itself is really remarkable. I don't believe for a moment that it was the Ministry of Health or the Director of the National Health, whatever it is, who created that questionnaire. I think it was the minister, it must be the Ministry of Internal Affairs. I invite you all to attempt to get on that portal and tell me what this has to do with COVID after the first couple of questions. What the majority of those questions has to do with COVID, I don't understand. I went through it again, some of the questions repeated. I'm telling you that at one stage, 6 Air France staff were working on various computers to generate this permit for which payment had been made. So I asked them, do you have any other flights going to other West African countries, neighboring countries preferably, which do not require this secret service kind of questionnaire, because that's what I consider it. And they said, oh, there's a flight leaving for Lomé at 4:30. I said, put me on it. I said, I'll go and join Igboho in Republic, wherever he is, and then maybe we'll come back into Nigeria together the same way as he got out, which is why I mentioned him at the very beginning. That was an option. Boarding began about maybe, I think, 20 minutes to 3. I told them, make sure you get me on that flight to Lomé. There was one to Lomé. Carried my bags, ready to go to Lomé. In the meantime, one of the supervisors had come from the office. She was in Mufti, not in something, and was working the phones like mad. And suddenly she broke into a sigh, a smile of relief, came running to where I was with my bags and said, I have good news, I have good news. You've been given special permission to re-enter your country. I don't believe that I should require, or any Nigerian should require special permission to enter his or her own country. So nobody is saying don't take precautions, because the next thing they will say, well, the Soyinka said they should let everybody in and anybody at any time anyhow. No. Nobody is saying you shouldn't take the necessary precautions. Other nations do it. But I don't believe that other nationals are, not humiliated is the wrong word, no, I just obstructed the way we are. I understand that some other West African countries have similar regulations. You have to go to the portal, fill this, fill that. But if this thing is not 100% proof, why should we be punished? Because some people are technologically inefficient, and yet they're imposing these technological requirements on passengers. It's not a pleasant sight to see your fellow Nigerians lying on couches. They can't go in, they can't go out, they're trapped in limbo. I think that's wrong. And so whoever is responsible for these funds should proceed to design something easier for humanity to fulfill, and also to have backup situations. When technology breaks down, human intelligence should come to the rescue. There must be a means, for instance, for me to be able to pick up the phone myself and call a number, an emergency number, and say, here I am, I've filled the forms, this damn thing has not generated this pass that I need to enter my own country in addition to my passport. And so there's a plea to the Ministry of Health, which must be involved, I'm sure, in this forum, Internal Affairs, which I'm convinced must have participated in this form, which I feel, if you don't believe me, please go online and see whether that looks like a normal kind of health questionnaire to enable you to enter your own country. I don't think it should be necessary for me to go and land in Lome and get on a motorcycle pillion again and find my way through my hunting paths from one country to the other. No. I think I should be able to fly like any other modern human being without asking for any special privileges. I could have terminated this marathon much earlier. I could have insisted, please get hold of this person, get hold of this. My name is this is my status in this country. I even have national honors, believe it or not. I could have done all of that, but I wanted them to go through the entire process, even for the second time, to find out just what the hell is going on and why one should be subjected to this kind of ordeal on earth. So it's a plea to all the ministries which are involved. Please let us go out through the front door and come back in through the front door as is befitting to all normal citizens. Stop treating Nigerians like criminals and illegal immigrants who end up sleeping on the couches or on the floor at airports. I like to begin by accepting everything. But when you go through this questionnaire, the thing you have to fill, on your computer, you just wonder what it's all about. Is it really about COVID prevention, or is it to gather information on Nigerians in a covert way, utilizing the COVID requirements? Because this strikes me. And incidentally, the Air France people, let me tell you, they found the entire questionnaire ludicrous and ponderous and unnecessarily complicated. In fact, she used one expression. She said, repeat the same question again and again. It's unnecessary. So I'm not saying an attempt was made to banish me, but I felt like I was serving a decree of banishment, at least for 24 or 48 hours. That's exactly how I felt. You have to carry your bag as you're about to enter the plane. You go all the way back, then you go through immigration again to be let into France. Fortunately, I had a Schengen visa. Many of the Nigerians there who were transiting from elsewhere did not have a Schengen. They couldn't go into France even if they wanted. So they were banished from their own country. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a mess. This country is in a mess. It is disintegrating before our very eyes. The government is floundering. It's not merely that the government is devoid of a holistic solution. The problem really is that this government does not have a holistic grasp of the problems of the nation and the environment in which we live, and the time also in which we're living. After all, look at Sudan right now. It's in turmoil simply because some people got up one day and decided that an arrangement come into for the governance of that nation to be abrogated because they're carrying the guns. And of course, the people have responded in a marvelous way, in a united way. Doctors, workers, students, market people, and the last time the oil workers, they've all got up and said no. Part of the problem which we have in this nation, and which has plagued us, except for a few memorable times, is this ability to act in concert. From time to time, we have a section of the nation comes together and says, enough. We're human beings. We will not be treated like beasts, like NSARS, for instance. That's one such movement, which unfortunately ended up somewhat tragically, but it doesn't matter. It was a step in the right direction. And what I'm trying to say to you is this, that if we're still looking to this government for solution, then I think we really are lost. We've got to find a way of piling up pressure to enable us to meet as equal beings across the entire nation for a national indaba involving the various professions, the various group interests, ethnic groups, any sector, productive sector of this nation should be encouraged to come together and really debate the future of this nation. We're going along piecemeal solutions all the time, piecemeal solutions. One way or the other, one misses that sense of a grasp of the totality, an understanding of the connection of one part of governance, one part of civic society to the others, ethnic nationality to the other, even the possibility of evolving an ideology. I don't know, maybe that's too heavy an ambition, but it doesn't matter. At least the capacity, a new trajectory which enables this large piece of real estate with its people to hold together in a productive and dignified and egalitarian manner. This, at the moment, is what is missing. For the rest, I can only say, please go and read my latest work, Chronicles from the Land of the Happiest People in the World. And then you decide whether that title is justified or is meant to be ironic, and if it's the latter, what really it is trying to say. You can get it from my publisher at subsidized prices. I will beg him to sell it to you so that you don't have any excuse that you couldn't afford a copy. Thank you very much. End of this session.